Shorts Daily on this Friday morning edition. Sports Shorts presented by LaBerge Casino, and TK, of course, joining us as he does every Monday and Friday over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. Today on Sports Shorts, we'll get into talking about the big game, sold out crowd at the PMAC for Kim Mulkey as Tigers lost by 6. The South Carolina came in ranked number 1 team in the country, and it was an amazing atmosphere. We'll talk about that. I have some takes also on Nikki Fargas. She was on the SEC Network. She's an analyst for the SEC Network. She works for the Las Vegas team in the WNBA in their front office, but she also moonlights doing some TV, and she works for the SEC Network. So she was in studio, talking about all the games going on last night, but particularly I want to talk about her reaction and also what the USC coach said after the game about Nikki Fargas and all. Also, when it comes to the Saints have a must-win. They'll be taking on their big rival, the Dirty Birds. The line is down to 3.5. The Saints are a 3.5-point favorite against the Falcons, and it opened up at 4.5. Is this Matt Ryan's last game? Should it be Matt Ryan's last game? We'll get into all that. And we'll tell you about some other news around the NFL. We know people like Joe Burrow aren't going to play this week. So you Joe Burrow fans will have to, relax. He's not going to play this week at all. And a whole lot more. Some fallout reaction from the LSU football game and some things have transpired since. Bring in Tommy Christ in here, courtesy of Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. And TK, first off, your reaction to Kim Mulkey's squad. I know she's somebody you've known for a long time. You knew her in college, and this all to me seems like it's happening even faster than we thought it would. I mean, we saw over 7,000 sold tickets for the last game, and then this one, you go on StubHub and you're paying hundreds of dollars for tickets on a sold out venue. I mean, it just seems it won 13 in a row. That streak's over, but it just seems like she's just paying back Scott Woodward in a giant way.
Well, they're trending in the right direction, Ronnie. And look, they lost to South Carolina, but there's a reason South Carolina's the number 1 team in the nation. And they went on the road and won a conference game. So you got to keep that in mind. Yeah, LSU lost, but, they hung in there, went back and forth, had the lead a few times. I was following her on the live stats on the LSU app, and just didn't work out at the end. But it's one of those things that'll make the team better as they go forward. And Kim Mulkey has had, many a disappointing loss, many a loss to a ranked team. She knows how to handle this. She knows what to do going forward, and it's still going to be a great season. And you're right. She is, trending a little quicker. We all thought, okay, she's going to get this thing right, but she's got it real right, real fast. And it's a good time to be an LSU basketball team, both the women and the men.
The LSU women's basketball team, they had a chance. They had the 3-point lead at halftime, but they just had no answer for Boston, the big post player for South Carolina All-American. She had 17 points, 18 rebounds. And, in the second half, she absolutely took over the game. They didn't have anybody that could slow her down, and that was the difference. Outside of that, LSU did what it needed to do to win. South Carolina, a little shorthanded with some COVID issue, but it was a tremendous atmosphere. It was a whiteout game. 99% of the people wore white. They had T-shirts on the chairs in the PMAC, and it was a pretty amazing atmosphere for women's basketball. And they honored Simone Augustus. The governor was there. All the dignitaries, everybody was there. But I'll say this: it's just all happening so much quicker. With the transfer portal, Kim Mulkey was able to get in some players to make a difference, and she just proves each and every time they go out there, that next to her and Gino Ariema and Pat Summitt, that they're on the Mount Rushmore. I don't know who the 4th person is on the Mount Rushmore of women's basketball, but those 3 for sure are on the Mount Rushmore of women's basketball, and then we can debate that 4th person. But it's incredible, to think that LSU women's basketball is paying a coach, potentially about 3 times more than what, the previous coach was making a year ago. and a team that had less than 500 season tickets to now they're playing in 1 year, in less than 8 months time, they're playing in front of sold out crowds. It's an amazing story.
Yeah, and I've said many times, don't let anything that she does or accomplish surprise you. And are they going to win every game? No. And they lost to a great South Carolina team last night. So, you just put the seatbelt on and go for the ride. It's going to be a lot of fun going forward. They're going to win a lot of games, and she's going to win championships. This year, I don't know, but in time she will.
Yeah, I mean, look, last night, and they said this on the broadcast, last night there were 11 McDonald's All-Americans playing for South Carolina. 11. And, I'm sure, I don't know how many LSU had, if any. I didn't hear that. But 11 McDonald's All-Americans, I mean, you and I could coach that team if you got 11 McDonald's All-Americans.
Ronnie, that reminds me of one of the great quotes of all time. Marquette legendary basketball coach Al McGuire, who became a TV announcer when he was at Marquette, he said, this other team's got a bunch of McDonald's All-Americans. I got a bunch of guys who are going to work at McDonald's next year. So yeah, he was putting it together. But no, and again, there's nothing wrong with losing to South Carolina by 6 points when you had the lead. 4.5 minutes to go was the last time they had the lead, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean it's going to make them better. I mean we all know that, and hopefully all the fans recognize that.
I went to I didn't go to the basketball game last night. I watched it on TV, but I was at the men's game the other night in a similar type of environment. And I mean, right now, the way LSU just finished its last football game with a losing record. I mean, the question needs to be asked: is LSU turning into a basketball school?
No, that's not going to happen. But it's great to have so much success going. And the other night, the men's game knocking off Kentucky. And by the way, Dale Brown's going to be on Hold the Rope Radio Sunday night with
Nice.
Skip and Cano. So that's pretty cool. Coach Brown doesn't do a lot of radio interviews anymore. But he's going to come on with us on Hold the Rope Radio on ESPN 104.5 Sunday night from 7 to 9. I'm not sure the exact time Coach Brown will be on. And then your partner, the former player who's got the story of the week, Doug Thompson. So Doug Thompson, Dale Brown, what a night. Hold the Rope Radio.
That will be great. Dawn Staley, the head coach for South Carolina, and she's one of the all-time great coaches, in college basketball. She was a 6-time WNBA All-Star as a player. She played at Virginia, but she was an amazing basketball player. She's been named to all the WNBA all-time teams and things like that. She's been done a fantastic job as the basketball coach, of course, over at South Carolina. After the game, she said, they interviewed her, and before she really broke down the game and all, I forget what the question was, but she basically said, talking about Nikki Fargas, this was a great atmosphere tonight. They played hard and everything. If this atmosphere would have been here for Nikki Fargas, they'd have won a lot more games, And she kind of took up for her sister and they're really good friends, and they're coaching compadres and all that kind of stuff. And I know that, if you're an African-American coach, particularly female coach, you're going to look out for your other African-American female coaches. And they've been very outspoken and involved in trying to move the agenda to get more African-American coaches and not just women's coaching, but all sports, but particularly their sport. So they have a special bond. I mean, they're really good friends and everything. And what was interesting was Nikki Fargas was on the SEC, in the SEC studio, reacting to all the games going on. And she didn't really talk, they didn't really go down that line too much about, wow, isn't this incredible, Nikki, what they're doing in LSU? It was funny. You have the number one team in the country taking on a ranked LSU team. LSU's won 13 in a row. They just beat 2 SEC teams that were ranked in a row. This sold-out environment. Nikki Fargas is in the studio, and I kid you not, Tommy, when they put up the scores at one point of all the different games, the 5-6 games, whatever going on last night, they talked about the South Carolina LSU game last. and like touched on it, as opposed to going into it, because I think they were so sensitive of Nikki Fargas being there. They didn't want her to feel bad. They didn't want her to, have to comment on what a great job Kim Mulkey's doing. But listen, the reason that there are thousands of fans there is because of Kim Mulkey. Okay, it has nothing to do with any race or anything. This is, first off, she's a Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer. She's a Louisiana legend. She was already a rock star before she ever came to LSU. But when she came to LSU, she didn't just say, "Hey, pay me my money. I'm going to sit over here in the corner and do nothing." She's been grinding and working and getting out there into the community and demanding people buy tickets and demanding people come. And I hear from people that she walks out onto the court before the game and kind of takes notice of who all's there. She's looking around to see her friends and people that she's talked to that said they're coming, and she kind of takes inventory of who's there and who isn't. So I just found it that the SEC network let Nikki Fargas off the hook. They didn't make her really talk about the game, which was the biggest game in the country last night in front of 14,000 people, which is unheard of in college basketball, particularly in Baton Rouge. They let her off the hook. Dawn Staley took up for her coaching friend, and really didn't say much about Kim Mulkey. But this is. I mean, she's already given her the SEC Coach of the Year award already.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's so inappropriate and total horseshit by Staley to do that. Okay, I get the whole thing you just said, but that's not a professional comment. And that the karma's a bitch. That's going to come back to get her. And don't think Kim Mulkey won't know about it if she doesn't already. So, it's and for the SEC network, look, there's been many a former player and coach that's went on the SEC network and had to talk about the school that they used to be at. But again, I just think that Coach Staley, that's terrible, awful. You owe an apology to basketball fans.
Yeah, some of the comments, it's amazing how much different a great coach can make in one season.
And look, Nikki Fargas, I was the first person that interviewed Nikki Fargas after she was officially named coach. Did it in her office down there on the second floor at LSU. And I thought she was smart, great person, and she ended up being a good coach, and her resume speaks for itself. But she didn't get the job done at LSU, and they gave her plenty of time to get it done. So, again, I just think Coach Staley really embarrassed herself.
It would have been a bit. Let's see. Yeah. So anyway, it was just interesting. I caught that that she kind of took up for Nikki.
Yeah, that's terrible, and that's not the time to do it. Now, do you maybe say that today on a radio show in Columbia, South Carolina? Okay, but you don't do it right after the game. The timing was terrible. The comment would have been better served at some other time.
What's interesting is that.
I hope LSU plays them in the national championship because Mulkey will win by 40.
She did win the battle of the best dress, no question about it. She had on this unbelievable jacket that changed colors and all that. That's all the women were talking about was just the jacket that Kim Mulkey had on was pretty slick.
Well, hey, Ronnie, it's great to be talking about women's basketball.
Right.
It happened, and they honored Simone Augustus last night. We hadn't talked about it that much since she went to 4 straight Final Fours. So, there's been some trying times since then. And, Kim Mulkey's turned it around. You got to give her the credit. I mean, the credit starts with her and to Scott Woodward for hiring her.
Yeah. And like I said, here's Chance with another comment. Kim Mulkey has worked to get the crowd. Fargas never did, and that's exactly right. Listen, she literally
correct.
When Fargas after the first few years, she literally was told, "Hey, look, you got to spend more time in Louisiana," because once the season ended, she jetted to California early on in her career,
right.
and then in the back end of the career, when she was here, you talk to college coaches around the country, and the LSU staff was not at the AAU games. They didn't put the effort in. And look, so I don't feel bad for her because she got plenty of money. She should have been fired a long time ago. And it just goes to show you get the right person, any sport can be relevant. So Scott Woodward making moves, both right now, LSU basketball, men's and women's are rolling. LSU football is always going to do well at the box office. They just got arguably one of the best coach available in the country to fill a spot for O. You got one of the hot baseball coaches in America. I mean, everything's, and you got a new exciting volleyball coach, and I mean, the soccer just came. Women's soccer just came off of one of the best years they've ever had. Obviously, track just continues to roll along, just coming off of a national championship and that. So, I mean,
the women's golf team's got some All-American players. I mean, it's a good time for sports at LSU, and there's a lot of people responsible for it. Hopefully, the fans are noticing.
Yeah, there's no question. All right, let's talk a little New Orleans Saints. The Houdat's find themselves a 3.5-point favorite. Why do you think the line has moved from 4.5 to 3.5?
I'm not sure. Nowadays, I don't care what sport you're trying to bet on. It's tough with who's sitting in the NFL. You got people sitting out, got nothing to do with COVID, and you got all the COVID stuff. So, the Saints are on the road, and I'm not sure why the line dropped down a little bit. Might mean a lot of money was going the other way, but I like the Saints to win Sunday. I'll give a Sports Shorts Daily free pick. The Saints minus the point should be a winner. And then you got to be a Rams fan if you're the New Orleans Saints, because the two things that have to happen for the Saints to get into the playoffs are Saints win. Obviously, you got to have that. And then you need the Rams to beat the 49ers. They're playing at the exact same time, so be a lot of scoreboard watching. But I think the Saints are going to take care of business. The defense will carry them again.
There's a headline that was in the in online, a few different articles. Is quarterback Matt Ryan done in Atlanta, Tommy? Ryan is due for a massive raise this offseason. He's expected to make $16.25 million as his base salary in 2022. If the Falcons wish to move on from Ryan, they will need to have a replacement worth developing through the draft. Maybe Liberty's Malik Willis or North Carolina's Sam Howell, or they'll have to go after a veteran. There's major ramifications, no matter which way Atlanta goes. So there's a number of quarterbacks, of course, that are also free agents. I don't know, would somebody or quarterbacks that have, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and others that have expressed interest in leaving their town, would they go to Atlanta? I don't know. But do you think, with Matt Ryan minimally making $16-17 million next year, he'll make more than that with the incentives that are easily reachable? Do you think this is it for Arthur Blank and the Falcons?
It could very well be, and of course they blew the big lead in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Everybody knows that, and they basically get reminded about that every week. Ryan just hasn't, got it done. I did get to a Super Bowl, which is hard to do, but there may be a complete rebuild with the Falcons, and Ryan's still going to play football. He's better. There's a lot of teams in the NFL be happy to have him. So he's going to be. He's
a middle tier quarterback, Tommy. His numbers and everything put him kind of very much in the very middle. But if you
surrounded him with, Michael Thomas and Kamara, and we go on, then does that make him better? I mean, he's had some good players over there in Atlanta, obviously, but it's probably time for a change in Atlanta.
I think a lot of people are going to go to that game, and maybe we're not going to. Obviously, we don't know what the future brings, but I think a lot of people are going to that game.
Aren't you going?
It. Yeah, I'm going to the game. Todd McClure, the former Falcons center and a good friend of Matt Ryan's, is going to the game as well, and it will be actually sitting together. So I think that community is bracing for this potentially to be his final game in Atlanta. And he was an MVP in the NFL, Tommy, just 5 years ago. And much like Cam Newton, was an MVP, 5-6 years. I mean, was it 2015? I think he led him to the Super Bowl. So I mean, and Cam Newton's play went down. His play went down 2 years ago. And so much like that, the back end has fallen off a little bit quicker. The only problem is it's much like whenever people want to fire coaches, be careful what you wish for. Unless you have a replacement, Matt Ryan, again, is still better than a third of all the quarterbacks out there, maybe even a half of all the quarterbacks out there. So, unless you've got a plan, unless you're going with a young guy in the draft and you're going to sink or swim with them and let it take you lumps year one, because that's what's going to happen with every quarterback, you may want to go to Matt Ryan and say and feel what does he want to do? How long does he want to play? Do you want to retire a Falcon? Do you want to play 3 more years, and tear up his deal and start over? I mean, I don't know, but I have a feeling if I got to pick one way or the other, I have a feeling this is the last time we're going to see him as a starting quarterback in Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree with that. It just, all things change, all good things come to an end. And, it's easier to get to the top than it is to stay at the top. And that's what's happening with Matt Ryan and the Falcons.
I think what's likely to happen is as opposed to the Saints beating the Falcons, I think more likely is the Rams are going to beat the 49ers. The Rams still have something to play for to secure their spot. They need to get Matt Stafford going at quarterback. Obviously, the Saints have to win and the Rams have to beat the 49ers. I actually feel, Tommy, I don't know if I'm being foolish, but I feel more confident. Rams are playing at home, all that. I feel like the Rams are going to win and the Saints are more iffy.
Well, I agree with you, and I don't like to bet parlays, but a good parlay would be the Saints and the Rams. I think they both take care of business Sunday afternoon.
Any other hot picks this week? I know meatandpotatoesusa.com will be having winners, but is there any other game you're kind of highlighting in your mind for the gamblers?
Well, we'll certainly have plenty of info on the national championship game Monday night between Georgia and Alabama. And, the meat and potatoes is going to look at all this NFL stuff, who's playing, who's not playing, who's got COVID protocol issues and whatnot. So but I can tell you this, Anthony Gallo and I on our podcast, Coon-Ass and the Redneck, we are combined 14-2 the last 2 weeks. And we got a podcast that's going to drop a little bit later today where he's got 3 NFL picks and a Georgia-Alabama pick, and I got 4 NFL picks for you. But check out Talking Sports with TK, available on all your major podcast platforms.
He's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. All right, TK. So tomorrow we will be over at LeBear's Casino. We'll be inside the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill from 10 until noon. Encourage folks to come out, join us, have a little breakfast in the first hour, a little lunch in the second hour, or come place those bets. So the kiosks are on fire. They're open 24 hours, 7 days a week. So you can go place your bets anytime on any games. They also have man kiosks during the day. But if you know what you're doing and you got a bunch of games, go to any of those kiosks on the casino floor and you can place your bets throughout the day. Now that the LSU bowl game is over, Tommy, there was kind of like there was a bunch of bouquets thrown around at the LSU team by former players and the coaches and talking about what a great effort it was and, hey, thanks for the guys that bought in and played hard and all that. Did you see it that way?
No, you're supposed to play hard, okay? If coach puts you in a game, you're supposed to do your best. You're supposed to be prepared, be ready physically and mentally. So I think they overcooked that a little bit. But I think the biggest story is just how far down this program is compared to where it was 2 years ago. And Brian Kelly's got a lot of work to do, he and his staff, and they understand that. But I thought they overcooked all this. Look, I said it, the other day, John Trey Kirkland, he's put himself in Tiger lore forever because you know what? He put his team first. And he's not a selfish guy. And I wish him nothing but the best. He's going to be successful at whatever he does in life just because of what I've observed of him in his career at LSU. But, you're supposed to play hard. That's one of my pet peeves. Well, they really played hard. Well, you're supposed to. Don't give them a pat on the back for doing something you're supposed to do. Had they won the game, now you throw bouquets at them. So I thought that was overcooked a little bit. But Tiger football fans got a lot of work to do before they play Florida State in September in the Superdome.
Yeah, I think nowadays we kind of probably overreact to everything, right? So I kind of, hey, thanks for you guys. Thanks you guys. Well, everybody that stuck around didn't have an option. Everybody who had an option didn't play. So I thought that was just a little bit overdone, but whatever. The only coach that they're keeping is Davis. That's it. Everybody's going from the secretaries on the second floor to all the coaches, the offensive line coach, interim head coach Davis. Only person that they're keeping. If you're an equipment manager and you're a trainer, you're good. Everybody else gone. They are starting fresh. When you say starting fresh, we're starting fresh. When you walk in there right now, Steve Schneider, who's been a sportscaster in this city for 40 years, walks into the second floor of LSU football. Ain't nobody know who he is.
Look. But that's what you got to do. That's how bad the program got. Orgeron let it go to the rock bottom. And that's how bad it is. You just got to, clean house. That's a thing. I don't care what sport, what school. When I get a new coach, there's always that group that, oh, you got to keep so-and-so on the staff. No, you don't. There's a reason you change coaches. So let Brian Kelly make those decisions and go from there. But,
this was Craig Schilling's take. They were hearing the hey, they shouldn't have played voices, so I think they were pumping them up for playing. Yeah, because a lot of people, we questioned whether or not they would play or not. I didn't think they would a month ago, neither did you. But and then also Chance has a take here. I disagree with this take, but I'll get your reaction. Stingley going pro after his freshman year reminded me of Randy Livingston's LSU career. Never could stay healthy. Stingley played a lot more good quality football than Randy Livingston did basketball. Randy Livingston got hurt against UCLA in December of his freshman fall season. At least Stingley had one full freshman year where he was great and helped lead LSU to a national championship. Other than that, 10 games played in the last 2 years by Stingley, and many of those 10 games were mediocre at best.
He's not going to get drafted as high as he thinks he is. He's not big enough. He doesn't work hard. It's going to come forward. Like our late great friend Tony Robichaux said, you can work hard or not work hard. Either way, it's going to show. And Stingley is not going to make it to the NFL.
So, all right. So one of the boards we already saw with Tom McShay had him going 3rd overall. So TK, right?
TK, absolutely no way.
No top 10.
He doesn't go in the first round.
10?
He don't go in the first round.
You heard it here first, Tommy. We're clipping this one off. That's a big statement. Todd McShay usually isn't that far off. He says he's going 3rd overall, Tommy. You don't have him going in the first round. Wow.
Okay. Late first round, maybe. Ronnie, he's not. You know how big wide receivers are in the NFL? He has not gained 5 pounds since he got to LSU.
All right. Interesting. You heard it here first.
He's not physical enough, and he doesn't work hard. It's going to catch up.
Quick reaction. You and I are both old enough to remember the USFL, and, of course, a good friend of yours, Alan Risher, played quarterback in the USFL, and a good friend of mine, Robbie Mafus, played quarterback in the USFL.
Well, the record Risher holds, he completed the first 2-point conversion in pro football because they had the 2-point play at the USFL. And he, with the Arizona Wranglers, he completed the first one that was good for 2 points. And then, of course, the NFL adopted it years later. So,
is that verified? That means the World Football League didn't have a 2-point.
They didn't have a 2-point conversion.
Okay. And then Robbie, the former Southeastern gunslinger, he
played at Jacksonville.
He played at Jacksonville and holds the record for most completions in a row in the league, like 21 or 22. USFL is going to play this coming year, April 16th through mid-June. And they just announced there's going to be 8 teams. They just announced the first 4 head coaches yesterday. Todd Haley, Kevin Sumlin, Mike Riley, and Bart Andrus are all going to be head coaches in the league. These are all names so we'll see what happens. Another league giving it a shot. I think, any league that's willing to not play in the fall has a chance. And look, they're playing later, Tommy. They're playing mid-May to mid-April to mid-June. There's a good chance that maybe by 3 months off, maybe by April people are jonesing for football again. Because you won't have played really in February and March and half of April. So you got about 2.5 months since the Super Bowl, or about 2 months since the Super Bowl. So, maybe they're banking on a little break from the league, and after a couple months, people will be jonesing for football.
Yeah, no, people love football. It's the number one sport. America's pastime used to be baseball, the game that you and I and many others love, but football has knocked it off that perch in the past 20 years or so. So people love football. They're going to pay attention. It's can they survive financially becomes it's all about the money. If they can do it financially, get a TV contract, then they got a better chance to hang around. I'm hoping it works. And look, I don't understand why the NFL doesn't do like the NBA and have a minor league or something, or developmental league. To me, they're a giant enough league. They've got deep enough pockets to where they can afford to have some sort of summer league or like this that plays a little minimum schedule and whatnot. And it develops players. It gives players a chance in the offseason. Those guys that were on the practice squad, those guys that are trying to make it into a camp,
maybe guys that go undrafted or something like that. To me, they should be playing in this.
That's the big thing for me. It gives guys an opportunity, okay, and it gives those that don't want to quite hang up the cleats yet a chance to strap it up a few more times. Ronnie, you and I both worked in the Arena 2 football league 20 years ago, and that gave guys a chance. And you got a better chance to get back into the NFL if you're playing football, and that's what the USFL is going to be. It's going to be an opportunity for players. And some of them are going to make it, just like we saw, come out of arena football, the Kurt Warner story. We all know that, and others. So, I think it's good for that. It gives some coaches some things to do. To get to hire some game announcers, and TV crews get to work. So, there's a lot of pluses. That can they sustain? Can they make it, money-wise?
All right, we'll talk more about this with Derry Beckwith and Joel Davis tomorrow morning over at LeBear's Casino for Sports Shorts Radio from 10 until noon on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Make sure you check us out. Also, for the folks out there, please like and share. Hit that like button, hit that share button. Especially YouTubers out there and on Facebook. Thanks to Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Tell us about Tremonti's as we get out of here, Tommy.
Lunch special today, fried catfish topped with crawfish etouffee. Crawfish are coming soon. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Connect on Facebook and Instagram. Got barbecued ribs for lunch tomorrow. Lunch special with a little baked beans and coleslaw. Check it out. The Chairman's Reserve beef, all the wine and whiskey and liquor they got here. Do check out Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Jefferson Highway, right down the street from Parkview Baptist Church and School. And don't forget Sunday night, Hold the Rope Radio. Dale Brown, the guest with Skip and Cano, Sunday night from 7 to 9.
Usually when you go on Skip Bertman's show, sometimes you don't get a chance to say as much as you like because Skip will get on a tangent. But between Skip and Dale, there's no need for you or Cano to be there on Sunday night.
Yeah, we'll probably take a break. We go enjoy some of the good food at Sammy's and take a little break. And Doug Thompson can talk too. So I'm not. That'll be the over and under on words for me and Cano will be at an all-time low.
All right, Tommy, we'll see you tomorrow for Sports Shorts Radio. Everybody enjoy your Friday. And don't forget Sports Shorts Daily, Monday, 9 a.m. Tommy will be back at Tremonti's, and we'll recap